Welcome to Bluebird Hill Cellars. Let's take a look around the grounds first. Here we have a large family-style home nestled on top of a hill with a commanding view of the valley below and the mountains beyond. Even the seating area to enjoy your wine tasting have a great view of the lower vineyard, the buildings, and the valley and mountains that seem to bend around us here. They were nearing the end of their harvest and very busy when I arrived, so they nestled me into a space with the wine barrels waiting to be filled and placed inside. I wanted to stay out of their way of processing, so the girls and I walked around the grounds first. Looking back at Bluebird Hill Farm and Winery, we looked down this one slope, this one area of vineyards, towards the mountains and the valley below. We're up here on top of this high hill with a beautiful view. Here they have some grapes ready to be harvested, and they have bluebird boxes throughout the farm and vineyard. And outside gazebo for wine tasting and chairs and that out in the front lawn with a beautiful view of the valley below and the pastures and meadows. And of course more bluebird boxes for the bluebirds. And Kate's out there exploring. When we returned, they were still hard at work, so I asked if I could video their process, and they said yes. This was different from my last winery, where they had a large commercial crew. Here, the two owners began as wine hobbyists for several years before taking the dive into starting and operating their own small winery with themselves, a small group of friends, and their young assistant winemaker doing it all. It really showed me what can be done if you have the drive and you love what you are doing in life. Here we have some bins of freshly picked grapes. Nick, their assistant winemaker, shovels them into the separator machine, which separates the grapes from the bush. Don't ask me how. The grapes and juice are then pumped into a temporary fermenting bin watched over by Neil, the co-owner's husband, and the stems are pushed out the end of the separator. Then, depending on the grapes and their end purpose, the grapes and juice are further strained and put into specific fermenting containers and placed inside their storage rooms. Then each day the equipment is cleaned and ready for the next day's harvest bounty. Now let's see this process in operation. I then went over to their little winery shop and saw bottles with numbers on them, and also a shelf of award-winning wines of theirs. Sue, the co-owner's wife, runs their wine shop and serves up the wine tasting choices to visitors. I'll let her tell you about their winery herself.
Hi, Sue Shea here from Bluebird Hill Cellars. My husband and I started our winery in 2016. Prior to that, we'd been wine hobbyists. And with the help of Nick Cheatham, our assistant winemaker. We're making award-winning wines. When you come to Bluebird Hill Cellars, you're greeted by Nick or myself or my husband Neil, and we have all outdoor seating, lots of shady spots. We do wine flights. You can do a flight of 4, 6, 10, or 14 wines. We've won many awards, as you can see right here. These are our wine enthusiast awards for our Chardonnays and our Pinot Noirs that we received this year. We've been hosting RVers through the Harvest Toast program since July of last year, and it's been a wonderful experience. We've hosted people who are living in their RVs or their vans and traveling to see the country. We've hosted families, we've hosted single people. A lot of the RVers bring their dogs, and they get along famously with our 2 dogs, Gus and Willie. We're right in the middle of harvest right now, so it's an interesting time to be at the winery. Lots of things going on. We'll be up at 7:30 in the morning and out in the vineyard doing our last pick of Pinot Noir. Pretty excited to be on this end of harvest. We have grapes fermenting in our winery right now, Pinot Noir, and we've brought in Chardonnay. We've also started our Rosé and white Pinot Noir, and we have a fabulous view from our property. We sit up on a hill about 600 feet. We have about 6 acres, 3 1/4 acres are in vines. We have 5,500 vines shoehorned into that 3 1/4 acre. Planted Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Gris. And we also source a little bit of fruit from a couple of select vineyards in the Willamette Valley, and also source Syrah from Horse Heaven Hills in Washington State. We hope that you'll come visit us soon. Cheers.
After learning about the winery and seeing how such a small winery can process their own harvest, I made my own wine selections to taste and retired out to a nice setting to enjoy my experience. I like this way of wine tasting since it helps you remember what you tasted, and you can take notes on a slip of paper to narrow down the wines you prefer for purchase. Now let me show you how wine tasting is done by an amateur connoisseur. Here we are at Bluebird Hill Winery, and this is the wine tasting setup. I chose 3 whites and 3 reds. And I'll take the first one, which is the 2018 Chardonnay. And I'll take it, sniff, swirl it around, check the color, and sip. Delicious. Well, I think I've had enough tastes, and I've zeroed it down to what I'm going to choose. And that's the 2019 Chardonnay. Its bright, lively wine is classy in every way. A Chardonnay that lifts the palate, sharpens food flavors, and threatens to become the life of the party. Tree fruits and barrel toast are in play, with the highlight of Meyer lemon. Juicy and fresh finish keeps the flavors front and center. PG wine enthusiast. So I think that's what I'll get. I like all the others. Have not tasted a wine yet in these 8 wineries that I did not like, but I have to choose the one I like at each one because I only have so much room in my rig, and I have to be careful how many bottles I buy. So I bought my bottle of wine, then got a glass of one of the others I enjoyed, and watch the setting sun from a great vantage point before hitting the sack. The next morning would be another winery on our tour. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. There are more adventures to come.